Oh, let me call the people.
I'll check the stream health here. That looks nice. Looks really nice, huh? Let's check that we're streaming. All right, you're live. Let's see here.
Okay, welcome everybody to Hasidus, the deepest wisdom of God, right here from Tzfat, Israel, Safed. This has been called the holiest city in the world. And today we've got a beautiful class prepared for you, and it's all about Teffilin. So we know that God gave us 613 mitzvot. In fact, everybody in the universe has commandments, and maybe we should. Do you think we got the YouTube?
Good.
I was just thinking maybe we could like share the link
Sure.
on the different networks. So everybody in the world has a purpose. We all have a purpose in life. You know, we've discussed this many times, but unfortunately, what's going on in the world today is there's a lot of suicide in a certain category. Unfortunately, suicide is the greatest cause of death. Like, I don't know, maybe like 22 to 24 in America. Now, I lived in Africa, and I got to tell you that we see clearly that wealth is not connected to happiness. In fact, I think to some extent wealth can help with depression, because people that are not wealthy, like living in Africa, they're really looking to get out of their misery, so they have a hope. But the person that like doesn't have that misery and they don't know why they're living, so now they're living without hope. And living without hope causes them depression and often anxiety. So the very first thing we have to know in life is that we are here with a purpose. God did not make us without a purpose. We do have a reason to exist. And this reason boils down to what's called the Torah and the Mitzvah. The only time that God actually revealed himself to the whole world was when God came on Mount Sinai, and he literally revealed himself to a nation, millions of people, Jews and Gentiles. Every other religion, I'm not trying to put anyone down, but just consider this fact, is based on one person or 12 people. The only religion, in fact, most religions are based on this religion, that says that actually we were there. Like my great-great-grandparents were there when God actually revealed himself. And so this is a very unique religion, because not only was there a revelation, but it was written down in a book. Now imagine if we like say, okay, well, there's a story, I don't know, 2 billion people see God, and then they write down that story, and then the children, it was literally my great-great-great-grandparents, they always read the story, they always celebrated that with Passover, whatever it is. So this is what we call historical evidence, a historical fact. Now we're not getting into whether this happened or not, that's not the discussion here. The discussion is, this event gives us meaning and purpose. Whether you're a Jew or whether you're a Gentile, you have been given a purpose and a mission by God in this world. And so now we're going to discuss what's called a mitzvah, one of the commandments. And this is a beautiful mitzvah that the Jewish people have. It's called Teffilin. And it's a mitzvah that goes for Jewish boys. And I'm going to tell you a story that happened to a cousin of mine. So a very interesting story. He was a very precocious kid, and unfortunately was taken to Auschwitz. For those of you that don't know, Auschwitz was a terrible, terrible extermination camp, which is a nice way of saying a place which the Nazis built in order to kill people. They killed over 1 million children. I was there in Auschwitz, I saw, you see like clothing of children. They killed gypsies, 2 million gypsies. They killed Poles, and they killed 3 million Jews. And this is like what will happen to society unless society believes in God. Because the problem with the Germans was they didn't believe in God, they didn't believe in the Bible. And you know, when you don't have anything higher than you know what you're left with is you. And you know what the problem with being left with you is because inside of us we all have two drives. We have what's called love and fear. And love are the things that we want, and fear are the things that we don't want. So think about it. How many things do you do just because you want? There are a lot of things that you do because you don't want. For example, I pay my taxes. I don't pay my taxes because I love the US government. I pay my taxes because I don't want to go to jail. So the things that you do are actually love, and the things that you don't do are fear. Now, it shows the power of fear. So what if somebody came to me and he said, listen, you know, he's got a gun to my head. He says, I want you to give me your money. And now I love my money, you know, not that I'm stingy, but, you know, we all need money. I love money. And he says, give me your money. Of course, I'll take out my money and I'll give him my money. You know why? Because I love my life more than I love my money. There's a cute comedian that he says, so this guy came to me, says, your money, your life. And I was quiet. He says, what are you thinking about? He says, I'm thinking. So the point is that we can be manipulated out of fear. If you actually think about it, what caused the Germans to become killers? Because this is the same thing that's happening in American society or Western society. Nobody really believes in their heart of hearts that being gay is the same thing as being married. It's not a normal belief. But what it is we're afraid of shame, right? You might not say this publicly. I'm saying it publicly because I'm not afraid of shame. I've went through enough of life to know that I have to speak the truth that I believe, which is fair. You know, there's freedom of choice. If somebody has a different belief, they're welcome to say it, and I'm welcome to say what I believe. But the point is that nobody really thinks that's real, but people are afraid to be shamed. And therefore, literally, if you're afraid of shame, you have to be a person that literally is confident enough in yourself to say whatever you believe. I'm not even telling you what to believe, but I am telling you that you have to say what you believe is true. And you also have to be open if somebody has a different belief to listen to them and consider it. You know, I don't only have conservative friends, I have all kinds of friends, and I actually love hearing different opinions because it refines me. Maybe my opinion's not so good. It's very important to have an openness in life and to allow other people to give their opinion, because that actually gives you more wisdom. And so we have to be open. You know, one of the ideas of being an American is really the idea of giving people the freedom to be themselves. And this whole idea, this cult, which I think started with one of the presidents, he who mustn't be named, and it created this kind of like, oh, cancel culture, like, oh, I don't like you, cancel. Why? Listen to what the person has to say. Maybe they have a point. Maybe they don't have a point. Maybe you could help them get them to your point. But there has to be a certain openness in reality. And if we don't have that openness, we are basically in a cult. And that's what happened to the Germans. And that's the power of not having God. Because when you have God, and you see this very clearly, you know, there's this insane persecution against people that believe basically in American and Jewish values. You know, they're getting kicked off platforms. And that's because the enemy of what is true and good, knows that these people have God. And that's why people are attacking God. Because, you know, if you think about it, like, what do you care? Let's say you don't believe in God. Let's say, I don't know, I say there's a cookie monster in the sky. And you say, no, there's no cookie monster. I say, no, there is a cookie monster. Would you get upset with me? Would you want to convince the whole world not to believe in the cookie monster? You wouldn't care, okay? 1 million people believe in the cookie monster. Does it bother you? No. You know, some people believe there's a flat earth. That's ridiculous. Does it bother me they believe a flat earth? No, it doesn't bother me. If you're one of them, excuse me, but it's not true. The earth, by the way, you know, I know a pilot, you know, she goes around the globe. That's how you go around. Be that as it may, point is it's not so important to me to make me upset. It's not going to bother me. So why is the belief in God so bothersome to people? And the answer really is, it says that the Jewish people in the olden days, right here in Israel, many of them worshipped idols unbelievably. And it says the reason is because the idol doesn't have a moral code. So the Bible, God actually tells you this is kosher and this is not kosher. Kindness, good, cruelty, bad. This kind of relationship is kosher, that kind of relationship is not kosher. But within us, we all have this ego, and the ego doesn't want to hear no. You know, the one word a child doesn't want to hear, no. And in fact, many of us have still childish mentalities. We just don't want to hear that word no. And the truth is that that is not okay, because the body has to hear no. And I'll give you a simple example. If you never say no to your body, what are you going to eat? You're going to eat sugar, you're going to eat bad fats, you're going to literally shorten your lifespan. So you are obligated as a healthy, sane human being to tell your body no. And if you don't tell your body no, you're going to basically die quicker. It's just that simple. You know, studies now from whether it's CDC or Harvard, many 70-year studies, there's a 70% greater chance of major illnesses from eating not healthy. That's 70% of heart attack, stroke. That's like unbelievable. So if I told you, listen, I'm going to give you 70% better chance of not having a heart attack, not having a stroke, the worst, biggest killers. 70% is an amazing number. By the way, 40% is just from eating fiber. So if I would tell you that, would you listen to me? I hope so, but still you're going to have this argument because the body doesn't care. It's like, that chocolate looks good now. He doesn't think. Your brain knows it, but your body doesn't know it. So what does this teach us? It teaches us that we do need God. We do need a law. We do need something higher than us that tells us right from wrong. And this doesn't disagree with science, because science is telling you, let's say, when this boils. It doesn't tell you if you should make it boiling. And Judaism law or God is telling you if you should or if you shouldn't. Is it good or is it bad? Science is telling you what's the temperature, what's it made out of. So a person has to be able to not think that just because science may be real in many circumstances doesn't mean that God and the Bible isn't real, because they're talking about different things. The Bible's telling you how to behave, honor your father or mother, and yes, if you were a parent, you'd want your child to honor you after everything you did for your child. And now the science is maybe telling you how things function, but the bottom line is that they don't contradict each other. In fact, they complement each other, because now I could use my phone, even though I'm here in Israel, and I could call my mother every night if I wanted to, and the Bible says honor your father and mother. So now this tool becomes a tool of God, becomes a good purpose tool. And that's actually why God revealed the internet, the Rebbe says, because he wanted that there should be basically that we could give charity to anyone in the world, as well as that we could literally give advice to anyone in the world. So we're living in amazing times. It's just a question, and it's very important to understand this. I was born before technology, or I shouldn't say before all technology, but what was around when I was around? The old dial-up cell phones, or phones. I remember when cell phones came up. I remember before the computer. I was like kind of fourth grade when it started to come out. I remember, there were planes. So reality was still pretty kind of, if you want to call it, slow relative to what it is. And so a lot of the young people think that technology is this kind of entity. It's not an entity. Imagine I'm a carpenter and there's like a whole bunch of tools. There's a hammer, there's a nail, there's a drill. All it is just tools of building. The same thing, technology is just tools. It's just a question of what you do with it. And I said this today on my Farbrengen chat. Happiness is really a simple story. Happiness is doing good. You want to be happy, do good. If you don't do good, you can't be happy. It's really simple. Happiness is just about doing good. And so the world today is a really simple place. Use all of these tools. If I can make myself as an example, if I may, right now I'm not getting paid for doing what I'm doing, and every day my friend also, he doesn't get paid, and he's more busy than me, and he takes his time and he's doing this video and we're streaming it right to you. Why? Because we love you. Because we want to give a good message to you. That's why we're doing it. And you know what? People loved us. God gave us the Bible. He gave us the Torah. We had teachers. They did it free of charge. This is what this technology is for. It's to give people information that matters. We're not taking your money. We're not looking for eyeballs. We're not making anything. Literally, we're not making anything off of this. We're doing this, and I have a website, KabbalahWisdom.org. Literally, it's been going on for over 10 years. I think we've reached at least 1 million people. Again, I don't make any money off of that. But truth be told, I'm not all altruistic. I have happiness in my heart from doing it. And I want to tell you guys, this is really, really important. You want to be happy. Ultimately, that's why you're playing video games. That's why you're doing what you're doing, is because you want to be happy. But you cannot be happy not doing anything that doesn't help another human being. It doesn't work like that. You can have the biggest house in the world, and I was a rabbi in a resort town around my synagogue and Sabbath table are millionaires and billionaires. I can promise you, and studies show this, that money doesn't buy your happiness. Now, money's a great thing. It can buy you a nice house. Nice houses are nice, but once you have the house, there's a rule. It says, Tainug Tmidi Ene Tainuga. Constant pleasure loses its pleasure. So you're not going to be happy from something that's going to give you a physical pleasure. It just can't make you happy. I like ice cream, but if I have it every day, I remember my kids used to come to my house because I was divorced, and I would always buy them sushi. I wanted to make them happy. And my daughter once said, Ta, they love sushi. I don't think you should buy us so much sushi. I was like, what? I love you so much. I'm getting the sushi and it's so expensive. She says, yeah, but we'll get sick of the sushi. And well, I didn't take her seriously, but she got right. She was right. She got sick of sushi. So the point is that the only thing that can motivate us and make us happy in this world is two things: goodness and growth. Because those are infinite things. Everything else is finite. You know, there's only so big your house can be. Your food, you can only eat so much. So at the end, it's limited. There are only two things in this world that are unlimited, and that is goodness. You could always do more goodness. There's always someone else, and there's always a deeper way to help, and growth. No matter how great you are, and you're an amazing human being, the younger generation, I'm in awe of them. Because you just tell them something, and they're so smart, God is with them, they get it, and they're ready to do goodness. But, and this is a really, really, really important but, you can, whoever you are today, you can grow more. I want to tell you something that's really important, because if there are many role models in the world today, and people that, whether it's politicians or people in the media or influencers, and they really look good. You know what the best sign that somebody is not really good? The better they look, the worse, I don't want to say the worse, but the not so good they are. Because if you really have good content to share, if I may use myself, look at me, not exactly the star of the world, right? But you know what? I'm so comfortable with my content, and I'm not saying that in an arrogant way at all. It's not my content. It's Judaism and it's God. I'm just trying to bring out a point. But I'm so comfortable inside myself, in my beliefs, in my content, that to me looking good doesn't matter. Now, there was times in my life that I felt a lot of shame, and looking good was really important. I would dress really fancy and look really good. But now that's not important to me, because what's important to me now is living the life I believe is true, living truth and goodness. And so this is something that I'm trying to help you realize, is that the media is an expert. People go to years of college just to learn how to make something look good. But if they have to make it look that good, it's obviously not that good. Like if I have to have a $1 billion advertisement campaign to make you watch a movie, it's probably not the best movie. Because if it was a really good movie, your friends would tell you to watch it, you know? So the point that I'm trying to bring out is a really important point, which is things that look really good are not necessarily and probably not that good, but simple people like us giving you content that's for free from God, that stuff is the stuff, and again, I received this, that can change your life. So now we're going to talk about one mitzvah. It's called the mitzvah of Teffilin. This particularly relates to Jewish kids, and I was talking about my cousin, and he went to this terrible death camp, Auschwitz, and it's a miracle that he came out alive. In fact, it's a story that his father took him to the previous Rebbe. Every generation has a saint, like a great, great tzaddik, and they took him to the previous Rebbe, and his father said to the Rebbe, bless my son. His father was a very great man, and the Rebbe just looked. The father realized this is very serious. While things were still okay, so he started to cry. This wealthy businessman and everything says, Rebbe, bless my son, bless my son. And the Rebbe looked, and after like a minute or so, he blessed him. And him and his brother that had this blessing, they both miraculously survived the Holocaust. And so when he went into Auschwitz, they made the prisoners strip, and they gave them terrible clothing. And he wanted to have his tefillin, so he was with a group of another 10, 11 boys. And he says, guys, we got to make a diversion, make a fight. So they started to fight. And so meanwhile, because they were fighting, the guards went to break up the fight. He took his tefillin and he put it in his shoe. And then he told them to break up the fight. And there were like 2 pairs of Auschwitz. And I want you to listen to this. Every single day, over 1,000 Jews lined up for a minute. And any one of them that was caught putting on tefillin would have been literally murdered. Once there was a guard that thought he was doing something. He whipped him, but he didn't give out the secret. Every single day, they put on tefillin. So I want you to understand the sacrifice that Jewish people have and had just to put on tefillin. In my life, since I became bar mitzvah 13 years old and 49 years old, I haven't missed a single day of putting on tefillin, thank God. Now, what is the reason we put on tefillin? Because this is a very deep question. I'm not going to go into the laws of tefillin. You can look it up. There'll be a million different places that you could see what tefillin is. What's the inner reason? Because behind everything, and this is really what Hasidus and Jewish mysticism does, is it gives us the inner reason for something. So one of the reasons is, and it's interesting because there are 14 out of 613 mitzvahs, there are 14 time-bound mitzvahs that women actually don't have to do. In fact, women are better at this naturally, so maybe that's one of the reasons they don't have to do this. The reason for tefillin fundamentally is this. We spoke before that we all have a challenge in life. I know I have a challenge in life, and that is basically don't eat the chocolate cake. You ever had that challenge? It's called the Don't Eat the Chocolate Cake Challenge. That's you had the challenge? That challenge exists on many levels. It's chocolate cake, and it's chocolate, and it's a sugary drink, right? And then it exists on other levels, when to get out of bed, when not to get out of bed. It exists on many levels. But all of that boils down to the Don't Eat the Chocolate Cake challenge, which is basically, can your little brain be stronger than your little emotions? Because the body, the emotions are, tastes good, feels good, do it now. And the brain is like, listen, buddy, that's a really big mistake. 70-year study from Harvard that says you're not going to make it out that well if you do that. You're like, really? Really? I don't care. The chocolate cake looks really good now. So we have to balance our mind and our emotions, the way we think and the way we feel. We discussed this the other day in the class. This class is actually streaming to some young people as well, so we're making it a little bit more open, like in making it a way for younger people as well to appreciate. So some of those that have been here and that heard this, so excuse me, but I'm going to say it again. Freud was, in a way, the founder of psychology. They've disproven his theories, but at least he brought out that there's a big subconscious in us. Now, when the great Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Chabad Rebbe, came to Freud, he actually was suffering from depression and he needed some advice, which teaches us, by the way, if a great rabbi, greatest rabbi of the generation, could go get some advice when he's suffering from depression, we can too. I got to tell you a story, a personal story. I'm very open here, so that's good. So I went through an episode which was pretty traumatic in my life, and I have a dear brother that's always been telling me, you got to go get some therapy, you got to go get some therapy, and I was really resisting it, and I never really went to go get therapy, and I just happened to, I mean, there are other techniques that I've used, but I happened to be in a place where I teach, and there was a lady there, and she tells me that she's like an expert in certain therapy, NLP therapy, and she wanted to be able to market herself. And one thing that I do like is help people, market themselves and help people out. So I said, listen, why don't you do the therapy on me? And then if it works, I'll market you. Obviously you can't just, you have to have faith in what you're marketing to help people. So she did the therapy. 45 minutes later, it was like this big weight was off my shoulder. And I can put you in touch with her. So I do want to say this, is that it does pay. If you're suffering, it does pay to go to therapy because you can get help. And listen to me, I suffered with this for 20 years and I didn't get the help. And in 45 minutes, somebody that was skilled, not everybody can help you. And if you see it's not working, get out of it. Like, don't go to therapy that's not working. That's actually hurting you. It's a waste of time. Therapy should help you, and it should help you right away. It should work right away. I mean, maybe 2-3 sessions. This person, she says, I heal people from trauma in 2-3 sessions. I work myself out of a job in 2-3 sessions. If it's more than 2-3 sessions, you're just like spinning your wheels. It's not. If you're not feeling better, get out of it. But this is a fact. 2-3 sessions later, not by me, it was 45 minutes later, I was better. Now, why am I saying that? Because a lot of people have a lot of anxiety today. And anxiety can be treated. So you need to go to somebody and say, I got anxiety. And again, if it's not working, get out of it, because no reason to go to somebody. I met this lady the other day. She had a traumatic accident. And what happens in trauma basically is like, you're like going through life and everything's smooth, and then bam! And so what happens is you suddenly don't know how to deal with reality, and you become kind of panicked. And so in trauma, we have this, there are two systems in us. We have the parasympathetic system and the sympathetic. Which one is the trauma one? Do you know?
When a sympathetic nervous system is like activating
From fear.
It's like it's one that makes you more alert or ready to fight or run. And
Right.
parasympathetic is the one that kind of can shut things down, enable digestion, chill you out.
Right, right. So parasympathetic, thank you, is the calmer one, and sympathetic is kind of the fight or flight one. So the point is, what happens is there's like a switch in us, and when something is dangerous, or we believe we're in danger, that gets switched on. Now, the body does not want to switch that on because it changes all the functions, like you were saying, like the digestion and all this different stuff. But when it does get switched on, I believe, and I'm not an expert, I believe it's very hard to switch it off. Does that make sense? So to get it switched off is not simple. And actually studies show that the only therapy that really works is a positive interaction between the individual and the therapist. And so having somebody, and listen carefully to what I'm saying, I have a friend, Dr. Charles Tauber, who's in charge of the Center for Peace and Psychotrauma. He's like dealt with people all over the world. He trains therapists. He says every one of us is a therapist. As long as you are a nice person and you're willing to listen to someone else, that is what therapy is. And so it's very important because I think a lot of people, their friends have anxiety, and friends unfortunately commit suicide, and people really beat themselves up like, what could have I done? And I'm telling you now what you could do, and I've gone through anxiety, and I'm telling you now what would have helped me, and I'm telling you now I charge you to do this for others. And it's very simple. Ask the person 2 questions. How are you feeling? And listen. Don't say anything. And the second thing you got to do is go like this. Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. And if there's something specific that you can help, without wanting to give your wisdom, but caring from a place of compassion, offer it. Again, 2 things. All you got to do is say, how are you feeling? And the next thing is go, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. People that went through trauma and went through the Holocaust, they need somebody to validate their emotions. They need somebody to show them that what they're feeling is valid. Because remember, you were going through life like this, everything's calm, and then it was bam! And this thing triggers all these emotions. But meanwhile, most people go through life and there's nobody, listen to what I'm saying, there's nobody that's going to ask them this question, how are you feeling? And instead of giving them advice right away, say, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. And only if your advice is coming from a place of compassion, not judgment, only if your advice is there to help them in a way that they understand that it's there to help them, then offer it. And if you do that, guaranteed you're going to save lives, not even a question. There was a doctor that came from Russia, and he unfortunately couldn't get his medical degree or medical license in America. He was literally going to commit suicide. And the Rebbe walked by, and the Rebbe waved to him, a wave, and that saved his life. There was a guy that literally jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge. Very few people survived that. And this individual became a public speaker, and he said that he had said to himself, if one person is nice to me, I won't jump off the bridge. Now, there are times in my life that I was more off. Now, thank God, I'm more on. And I say kind of often actually, hello to people. Maybe I've saved lives. You understand? Maybe just by saying hello to people, you've saved lives. Because so many people in our society today feel alone. They feel there is nobody there for them. And unfortunately, they're probably right. And so anybody in our society, that's you, and we're looking for good things to do, that just takes on this mission, saying hello to people, I guarantee is a life saver. You're saving lives. What could be better than saving lives? That's how you save lives. Say hello. And actually, it's interesting because I live in a town with tourists, and you say hello to people, you know what happens? Suddenly they have a question. They say, hey, how do I get to the synagogue? How do I get... Blah, blah, blah. But they wouldn't have asked the question if you didn't say hello. You know why? Because they didn't want to risk being vulnerable. Were you a safe person to them or not? They don't know. And so most of us are actually very standing back because I don't want to get hurt. I'm afraid. Most people have been hurt and they're afraid of getting hurt. But if somebody else, it says, Shammai says, you have to be the first person to say hello, because if you say hello to the person, you know what's going to happen? They say, oh, I can trust this person. I can ask them that question. And that question may even be a life and death question. So many people today don't know what they're doing with their lives. They don't know where they're going. They don't know anything. And so just being there, literally, to listen to them, and it could be simple, you can save lives. Now, what could be more important? Your stupid career, no offense, or saving a life? What is more important? Now, if I said, listen, if you listen to my advice, you're going to live another 50 years, you'll save 50 people's lives. No question, if you're a person that's going to say hello to people, throughout every year you'll save one life. Or you could listen to what the mass secular culture is telling you. All you got to do is get this job and make this money and this. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But number one, save lives. And then think about the job. Who would you prefer to be in an office with? Somebody that's saying, oh, I got to work, 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 or somebody that says hello to you? Then let the job come second. We're in a society, the previous Rebbe said when he came to America, that it used to be that people worked for life. And now, life is for work. This is crazy stuff. I was in the airport in Germany, and a stupid UN advertisement. A woman is, right? A doctor, or a lawyer, a mother not, right? To actually make life, to give life, right? Every single thing but a mother. You know, so this is basically what I'm saying is I'm offering you a way to make your life meaningful, make your life beautiful. And so everything else is okay, but it has to serve a higher purpose. Only when we're serving a higher purpose. So now we're going to summarize the idea of tefillin. When we put on tefillin, we're marrying our mind and our heart and our actions. Baal Shem Tov says, why is it that we put on tefillin on the hand first? Because first comes the hand, first comes the action of giving. This is another big problem that's happened in our society. Suddenly, if you go to university and you're a person with degrees, suddenly you're a somebody. And if you didn't go to university, you're a nobody. It doesn't make any sense. A person is a somebody because they were born a somebody. And if you have all the degrees in the world, on the contrary, if you're not a good person, then you're even worse because you have the education, you're not a good person. Goodness has nothing to do with the amount of degrees you have. It has to do with your heart and your actions. So in Judaism, what comes before the head is the hand. The head is directing the hand. Also, when we put on tefillin, we have a mind that God is the controller of the world. He took us out of Egypt. And my job is to subjugate my head and my heart and my actions to God. Again, this is very important. Every morning, you're male or female, you have to think about yourself. Think about, what am I here to do? Why am I here? So many people go through life, they don't ask that question. Why am I here? Or even if you want to be so spiritual, ask yourself a different question. What do I want to do? Ask yourself that question and ask it every single day. Because sometimes it's going to change. Maybe today you want to be a lawyer, but let's say that's not working for you. Who says you got to be stuck? Why can't you become a doctor? Why can't you go get married and have children? I mean, the point is, ask yourself that question every single day. What do I want to do? Remember, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you to ask yourself what to do. Go for it. Cognitive functioning. And last but not least, I want to say about tefillin is that tefillin, very interesting Chinese medicine, shows different areas of where we have spiritual centers. When we put on tefillin, it actually is like connects to those spiritual centers. And there's a guy that has a camera that can take auras. We all have an aura around us. When you leave the synagogue and you take a picture of a person that has tefillin, the aura is so much more beautiful. So in summary, I just want to say that we've discussed some beautiful concepts. I'm going to do a little meditation with you, a guided meditation, and close your eyes, take a deep breath, breathe in Hashem, and let go of all your stresses and fears. Breathe in truth and let go of all the media. It's 99% lies. Let go of all the things you heard in public school. 70% lies. Let go of all the social tweets. That's at least 60% lies. And thank God for giving us the truth, giving us the Bible, giving us our heritage, the great wisdom of the great rabbis that we can study. I hope you're going to go to my website and learn more. Feel free to contact me through my website. I have a contact page. I'll be happy to answer you. Feel free to get some books from my Meaningful Books spent a lot of time to translate what are really, really good books, especially the book Kabbalah Love, From Fear to Love. It's actually been turned into a TV show. And you'll learn the principles of how to leave fear and go into love. Thank you so much for watching. We're just going to see if there are any questions, and we'll take it from there. Okay. Be well, everybody. Thank you so much.